You're on.
Okay. All right. Okay. We're live. Welcome, everybody. This is Keith, How to Build Your Own Home, every Thursday. Live chat. We're going to have some fun. I want to get something going here and talk about the concept of luck. And it's just something that's been on my mind, and I've dealt with a lot of owner builders, and a lot of owner builders get really, really discouraged because they think nothing's going their way. And I want to kind of change your mind on a couple of things to help things come your way. Okay. And it has to do with, creating the opportunity for luck. All right. Luck is the result of something. If you just sit in your home, let's say, for example, that you're really heavy, overweight, and you want to lose some weight, but you're just eating pizza. Okay. You're not doing anything to improve the luck or the opportunity for losing weight. You're just sitting home eating pizza. But let's say, for example, you say, I'm not going to order out. I'm going to go drive and pick up the pizza, and I'm going to walk by the gym. Okay, I'm going to walk by the gym. Don't you think that might create some potential for luck, whereby somebody might walk by you and say, hey, you coming to the gym? Yeah, I thought about it, but I just, I wasn't quite sure. Well, there's free signups, and they gives you 2 weeks for free if you sign up. Why don't you come on in? And you come in and you sign up and you take the first gym lesson right there. Okay. That's called luck, but it's created when you change your habits. You change the way you're doing things. You just can't sit home and eat pizza. You got to get up and go pick up the pizza and walk by the gym. And that creates opportunity for you. So when it comes to owner building, and creating opportunity to meet people, like I've seen, I get a lot of comments. How can I find this? Where can I find this person? You have to find the avenue that creates that chance opportunity whereby you can meet somebody. Okay. Let's take, for example, framing. All right. How do you find a good framer? Well, one of the best places is lumber yards, not your Home Depot stores or your box stores or anything like that. Local lumber yards. And you may chance to just walk in there and buy a 2x4 or set up an account. And by the way, do you recommend any framers? Yeah, we've got our preferred list. Like I wish I could show it here. I asked a brickyard who their masons are. They sent me a list with 34 different masons on it. It's all in an Excel sheet. And they don't rank them. They don't tell them who's their best. These are the ones that they supply to. And there you've got 30 odd different names that you can contact. And then you can kind of, now we're going to get into a little bit of a woo situation. Woo is the spirit factor of life. It's where you've got all these different choices, but you really don't know which one to go. Well, you can meditate it and pray about it and ask about it. You can do that. You have that power to get some insight on, like if you have 5 different bids and 2 of them you really, really like, you can actually pray about which one you really want to take, which one might be the best one to take. If you really feel like you're getting 2 bids or 3 bids and you really don't know which one to take, use that source too. And that creates something a little bit better than luck. It's called grace. Grace is where there's a higher intelligent form out there that's interceding and giving you a lot of great insight. Why I'm saying this is that I've noticed that the owner builders that have a belief system like that tend to fare better as owner builders versus an owner builder that goes at the whole project with fear and costs and scarcity and uncertainty, lack of abundance, and they have all these blockages that get in their way from creating luck and grace. All right. And that's the name of the game, is to create as much opportunity as you can for better things to happen. So whenever somebody calls me, say, hey, my name's Joe, whatever, and I'm a painter in town, I'd like to be able to bid some of your jobs. I go, great, Joe, and here's how I create a better relationship, or how I test that person out. I say, why don't you text me your full contact information? You've got it. You've got my number. Share me your contact information. So That's the biggest test. And if they text it, if they type it in there, their email and their name and all that, and that's all I get, I know that they're not really very serious about running their business, and they're making it harder for me. But if they share their full contact, this is my contact information. If they share their full contact information, then I know that they're really on top of it. Oh, here's my contact, here's an image, here's my websites, all that's great. And I'd love to bid some of your work. But I see some people, they just say, hi, my name's Joe, and here's my number. Well, I can't send plans to a number. I can send plans to an email. And a lot of them aren't thinking that they haven't been in the trade long enough, which tells me that might not be a good direction to go. Now, here's the problem. A lot of owner builders will send plans out to everybody, even those people, and they'll get cutthroat bids, low bids, bids that are not really descriptive. They don't have inclusions and exclusions. It's really going in the direction of uncertainty. And you want to go in the direction of certainty. And these are things to just think about. So I wanted to just drop that in your head. Think about it, how to create opportunities where there's a more luck and grace that can actually come your way. And it's all about your perspective and getting out there and creating a responsible action that creates the opportunity for more luck. Luck and grace come as a result of responsibility. That's where they come from. When you take action, go to the lumber yard, talk to people that are working on a job site that are doing masonry work, and ask them, getting all these things. And then over time, you start to produce what I would call a great bench and a great first team. Like as a builder, I have a first team, a second team. I even have a third team. My first team is the ones that I use for, certain jobs. My second team is a team that I use for other jobs. If I'm doing a remodel that's not that complicated, I'll use a second team for that. But if I'm doing a major build that's 6,000 square feet, I use a different team for that. So you now have first and second teams, and that's when you really start to humming as a builder, to be honest with you. But that's also the same approach as owner builders. So think about it, how to create more luck and how to create more grace as you're going through and getting bids. And you're going to get 36 to 42 different bids from those different kind of subcontractors in building a home. And you really have to open yourself up to an approach that creates great opportunities for you. Let's take some questions and we can come back to that if you want to. Hello, Kai. Do you have your framer install the windows, or do you have the window supplier handle the installation? Very good question. It's a region by region situation. In my area, our framers are known, and it's pretty much standard that our framers will install the windows, provided they get there on time. If they don't get there on time, then they can actually charge you a fee to have to come back there. Other areas, they won't do that. A lot of framers won't take that on, but you can ask them if they will, and then they'll charge you a different price. That's where, when you get a bid and you like the framer, say, hey, I noticed windows are not on here. Can you give me a price to install the windows as well? And the neat thing is now you have a comparison. Here's the window manufacturer, their window bid for all the windows plus install, and then you can match it with what the framer would do, and then you can decide who's going to install the windows. Okay. So my area, it's framers. In a lot of areas, it's kind of the same, but not all areas. You have to ask for your framers to do that, add it as an item if they are comfortable doing it. Okay. Yes, thumbs up. That'd be great. Where can I find stucco subs? There are supply houses that deal with plumbing, irrigation, electrical, just about everything. You need to find a supply house that sells scaffolding. I know this sounds weird, but a supply house that sells scaffolding. And they typically will sell all the same products, stucco on top coat and everything else for stucco. You can actually go there and ask them, hey, who's your top 10, 15, or who's your subcontractors that you supply to? Can you give me a list? And most of them are happy to incline to do that. Some of them don't, but most of them do. You can ask that supply house. That's the best source. And then driving around town and finding out where some construction is and they're installing stucco, that's another place. Then, of course, local home building associations, realtor associations, even um, chambers of commerce, that kind of stuff. And then your typical Google search. Try those sources, but I like Supply House is the best. I've gotten the best leads on labor by asking those sources. Okay. David, a home designed and built in California that was circular and on a hillside. He was worried about the fires, so he built it with a flat roof and can flood it with 10 inches of water. That's 4 inches of water. Why did I say 10 inches of water? That's pretty cool. That's not bad. I had a woman that I did some decking for a long time ago, and she had grandchildren. She wanted this deck outside, but she wanted it so they could hold water, 4 or 5 inches of water, so her grandkids can have a swimming pool. She couldn't afford a swimming pool, but she wanted to have her grandkids to have some fun. And we did that for her. But now that I'm thinking of it, that's actually a pretty cool idea to be able to. It would catch a lot of soot. You'd have to clean it off after a while, but that's a pretty cool idea. Right, Orin Alter, Robert Allen Fuller. Keith, are you familiar with power law? I find it a very useful insight for how to focus attention and allocate personal energy in order to develop high impact efforts. There's a lot of interesting stuff out there, and a lot of people get a lot of value from that. Me, I just use my Father in heaven and Jesus Christ. That's who I use. And I've tried a lot of other stuff, but I haven't gotten as much impact or effectiveness than recognizing the creator that created me. But that's just me. But yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and really good stuff. So think rich and how do you do it? What's it called? Think rich and grow. How to influence people? Think and grow rich, and how to win friends and influence people. A lot of those are very similar. Even some of them are Christian based, but without saying a denomination. That's just my source. That's where I go to. Good comment. Thanks.
Here you go.
My name, rhyme with Kai. My name is Rye. Sounds like Rye. Good to see you, Rye. Cool. That's funny. What builder tips do you have for installing windows so keeping windows clean routinely is easy? Really good question. The biggest threat I find with windows is your water protection on the outside. So if you see this window here, if you've seen some of my windows, I put a product at the base of my foundation between the transition of my concrete and my subfloor or my flooring system. I cover that over. Well, when I get to a window, I actually come all the way up to the window and inside the window part here. That way, when I put the window on, I have complete coverage of rain on the outside all the way down and past the foundation. And the worst damage you can see on the window is right here at the corner, right there at the corner, because water gets out and it leaks out and it goes past the paper that people put on, and then it reaches the substrate, the sheeting on the outside, and that's where all the damage is. In fact, if you go to homes that are 20, 15, 30 years old and open up the siding material, you probably see a lot of damage right along here and right over there. Well, I go past that about a foot with the product that I use, and I go all the way down. You can do liquid applied, you can do a peel and stick applied, but that's where I take care of my coverage. And and I come inside the window there before I even put the window on. So, and then I still do the paper on top of all that. So that's just the best route I've found to take care of windows. So you can really get sophisticated with windows. There's a lot of liquid applied stuff, thing, you name it, you can put it on there. But again, it's the bottom part of the window. That's the worst part. And then when you put the window in, I like to put in a piece of flashing. You can probably see it up there at the top there. Right up there along that part there, there's a piece of metal flashing. So what that does is water hits the batten board, comes down, hits that flashing, and drips away from the home. And if you put a piece of flashing at the top of your windows, especially those that are exposed like that, these windows that I'm looking out here, my window installers put the flashing up there, but they didn't think that they didn't need it because I got a porch deck out that way. So if you have a window that's exposed to the elements like that, having that extra flashing behind the batten board, but coming out past over the windows, you're going to help drainage away from getting inside the nooks and crannies of that window. Okay.
Extra screen.
Okay.
Can you turn your screen?
Yeah. There we go. It's not snow out there. That's just from a fire. Looks like it's snow out there, but it's not. That's just a forest that was just burnt down. You can see I'm trying to save that big tree right there. It's a big ponderosa. There's a little bit of green up at the top, and I'm trying to save it. I put the sprinkler on there as much as I can, but that's all burnt forest, not snow.
It's an apocalypse.
It's an apocalypse outside my window. Rob, any opinion on rock wool, top rock, DD, found online, for low slope roof, 1.5, 12 standing seam, double log? Really good question. I've always wanted to insulate a roof, and that's kind of the one thing I want to do next. I've insulated the side of the house, and insulating the roof is something I really want to do. I haven't figured out the best route to do that. One of the best routes I've heard, I haven't tried it, is with slats. So let's say you put your sheeting down, okay? Then you put your paper, synthetic, whatever it may be, not tar paper. And then you put your insulation down and you screw that down. And then you put your slats down and you screw those through the mineral wool, rock wool or power wool. And then that they're nice and secure. And then you put your standing seam on, and they screw into those slats that are put over the top of the mineral wool. Mineral wool has to be a rigid mineral wool. The problem I'm finding is that creates a nice ventilation underneath your roof system, but it doesn't have as much security for wind uplift. So I like my standing seam to be as hugged as close to that sheeting material as I possibly can. And so I would love to see a mineral wool product or a rock wool product that has the mineral wool affixed to the OSB, and it's a thick OSB, but then you put the whole sheeting down and the insulation goes right down over the rafters, and all you see is the sheeting on the top. That would give us a really good way to affix a roofing material, because you've got all that meat to bite into. You just don't have slats in a couple of spots. But nobody's manufactured that. They have done that in polyiso, where you've got a sheeting material, you got a foam underneath, and you put that down. But you know how I feel about a foam. I'm just not a fan of it. It would not have done well in this fire here at all. So that's what I'm waiting for. I need to let Power Wool and these other mineral wool companies say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Can you make it? And I just have a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch, or even an inch of mineral wool bonded to the bottom side of sheeting. That's what I'm looking for. And when I find it, I'll let you know. Until then, it's hard to install because I want the insulation down below. I don't want it on top. So good question. Top rock, I'll have to talk about that some other time.
Okay.
It's kind of like a drywall product that's fire retardant, and top rock is used on flat roofs a lot on top of polyiso foam. So you got 3 inches of polyiso foam, and you probably kind of put the top rock on top of that. But I haven't run into that too much. I did have a house bid to do just that, and I love the top rock. You can walk on it, but I haven't really had a long experience with it. So, Blip Blop 92. Okay, Blip Blop. How do you pay contractors? 0 up front, 75%, 25% upon passing inspection. Never give. Is that a subcontractor or a general contractor? So if it's a general contractor, I never give them percentages of a job. Ever, ever, ever. You give them according to the work that's done. So if let's speak in terms of a general contractor. They submit to you an invoice, and that invoice would have all the associated subcontractor invoices, as well as all the receipts attached to it. And you pay that total amount, and then they're supposed to pay all their subcontractors and have lien releases. If you're dealing with a bank, then the bank would pay directly to those subcontractors, and they would request a lien release. Me, I have my clients give me a check, and I pay everybody, and they kind of trust me, and I get lien releases later on because I deal with the state construction registry, which is a long story, and it secures myself as well as my client and all my subcontractors. But I don't do percentages. If a framer is a subcontractor, in their contract, they'll say 25% for main floor, 30% for second floor, and the rest at the roof, and then $4,000 held over until you get CO or inspection. And then they break it up into 3 or 4 different areas. Plumbers do the same, electricians do the same. They all have 3 times they come to a job: underground rough, framing rough, and then finish. And so usually it's 3 times. Subcontractors are once when they come and they do it, they're done. Others are twice. A lot of them are just 3 times. So you shouldn't be breaking it down into more than 3 or 4 times. But you shouldn't give a whole amount unless they have to come back. If they have to come back, hold some back. So David B, would it be better to hire a sub that has a very small crew and says they will take a while with the plus that they have a long history working together over a bigger sub that has a revolving door? That's a really good question. Depends on the weather and who's got the better bid. I have a framer I love to death. He does a lot of work for me. One of these days I'll introduce you to him, but he doesn't have a big crew. And he framed a mountain home for me, another one, and it took him about a month and a half, 2 months to do. And he had a crew of 2 other guys, and it took a long time. Whereas another crew, I know they've got about 9 guys on the crew. They would have punched that out in 3 weeks, 2.5 to 3 weeks. And so, because I'm in a mountain builder for the most part, I need to move fast. I need efficiency. So remember when I talked about quality, time, and cost? Why do I pick time as a second most important thing on building a home? Because it's money. I can't schedule anything if I don't know the time frame that others can get something done. It is like pulling teeth. Let's say, for example, I want to hit a framer really, really, really bad, and I know he's good, and he said he's open for a 2-week window in the future. I need a concrete foundation crew that can hit that target. And if I can hit that target, then I can hit a lot of other targets down the road. Time is extremely important in construction, especially in commercial construction and high-end, big, huge development construction. They live and breathe time. And so owner builders tend to not. And I've seen owner builders say, I'm going to save money. I'm going to do my own installation. It takes them 3 weeks to do that. And then I ask them a serious question. Okay, took you 3 weeks to do installation. What do you do for a living? Well, I do this for a living, and I make $165,000 a year. Great. Okay, how much is your time worth then? Okay, it's worth X, Y, Z. Okay, you just did this installation for 3 times the cost of an insulator. We don't ever think about the real time value of our time. And so that's where a mindset gets so locked up on, I'm going to save. It's easy. I can't mess up on this. I'm going to do it. And then they do it, and it takes them forever to do it. And they've wasted a lot of time in life. This is how important time is. And so subcontractors are the same way. They ask me questions. Okay, is the foundation done? Do you have all your hardware there? Are all your tie downs there? Do you have all your supplies? Is the lumber there? Blah, blah. They ask me a lot of questions because they don't want to come to a job site, especially up in the mountain, and find out nothing's there. Then they have to go back. They've just wasted their time. And then they can end up charging me back because I said everything was there and it wasn't, and I lied. This is how important time is. Quality, the highest quality you can get, and what's the time frame to get it done. And there's so many variables and value propositions with time. And then cost is the last thing I look at. And then I look at them all together and individually. So if you're going about life and you're looking at cost first and you ignore time and then you ignore quality, it's gonna eat you. It's going to eat you alive. It's a really good question, but I hope I answered it in the most detailed way I can. Quality, time, cost. Always think about those things together and individually and in that order. Okay, next question. DeWitt XJW. Okay, cool. Hello, I got a quote for 1,600 to install 12-foot wide, 2 by 8-foot tall bifold door. It's for new construction. Is 1,600 too much? I live in Los Angeles area. Thanks. 1,600 to install a 12-foot. That's actually not bad. 12-foot wide. It could be cheaper in my area if that's a garage door, but that looks like a bifold door. My area could be maybe 900, 1,100. Depends on how long it takes for them to install it, but that's not too bad. It could be on the little high end, but then again, you're in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a big, your costs, your labor costs in those particular areas are going to be high because your standard of living is much higher. Your gas alone is what, 60 cents, 80 cents more a gallon than it is where we live. And so these are all factors that come into play. Like, for example, I can get framers for $11 to $14 a square foot. You're going to pay north of $25 a square foot. That's the fact. And so I know those numbers because I deal with students all the time. I know places that are charging $35, $38 a square foot for framing. Okay. You don't want to build in those areas. All right. So these are good things to know. And always remember that labor is between 30 and 40% of the total cost to build a home. 50 to 60% is the material cost. And everyone's looking at material costs. But really, labor is really soft right now. And you should be able to get competitive. And I would get another quote just for the fun of it. Just get another carpenter to give you a quote on that just to see if you can save another $100 to $200 or $300. But then you have to ask yourself, is it worth your time to try to save that amount of money? So good question.
Two-part.
KD, what's the tightest ACH 50 you can safely build a house with a conventional or low-tech HVAC system, i.e. mini splits, window units, or basic hot, cold central? Reason I ask is I remember reading stuff about CO2 and CO buildup, hence why with passive house you need fresh air intake, return, or it's called on the fancy central HVAC setups. This home that I built here, when we got in it, didn't have near the smoke smell that a lot of other homes had. The only smoke smell I had was inside the toilet areas because of the fan, that conduit going out could actually weep some smell into the toilet. So we had to turn the toilet fans on to keep the smell out. So we actually did a very good job. Other than that, I wouldn't want to keep out the fresh air outside other than during a fire. Because the fresh air where we live, minus the fire we're currently still dealing with, is actually very good air. And I would like that to come inside. And so that's where I have windows and stuff like that. I'm a fan of breathing, letting a home breathe. And the tightest you can get, really, I don't build a home for air tightness. I build a home for moisture tightness. I don't like moisture getting inside the home. How tight can you make it? Boy, you can go nuts. You can go really, really crazy on that. And to me, I think that's spending more. Like there's a technology called aero barrier, and what it does is it sprays. It's at the drywall phase, and you tape up all the windows and everything, and then you pressurize the house with air, and then you spray this aero barrier inside the home. And it finds nooks and crannies, and it's a liquid product, and it finds nooks and crannies through plugs and outlets and all your stuff like that, and it blocks them and fills them up. But what's the cost of that? I'd rather put that on better insulation on the outside of the home. I'd rather improve it with that kind of more meat on the wall structure of the home, rather than try to, fill up every minutia little hole. So I just love a thick coat on a home. I'm just that way. I was talking with another builder and I said to him, I like to take a drill about 10 inches long, maybe a drill bit that's a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch big. And I like to drill it through the house. And I don't like it to be easy to do. I know some homes I can literally take a drill that's 10 inches long, like that, and punch it with maybe a little bit of resistance. Maybe when I hit the sheeting, then it punches through, and then it goes through all the way to the drywall. I like to have to work at it. And that's just me. This home here, if you put a drill on it, it'd take you a little time with the cement board to get through. You'd have to have the right bit. So that's just, I like to put my money into kind of that kind of sturdiness and real density of the home rather than, liquid bubbles going into little holes just to patch up a small little, less than an 16th inch hole. So that's just my approach. In fact, I'd rather prefer to have that 16-inch hole there so I can let my house breathe a little bit. Okay, good question though. So you know where I stand. Calhoun, the window supplier cost to install the windows is 7 times 700% more than the framer's quote. Does that sound right? 7 times?
So 700%. That's 7 times.
Yeah.
So if the framer's going to put it in for $10,000, they do it for $70,000.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because the framers probably have their scaffolding and everything set up, ready to rock and roll, and they can pop them in much faster. And plus, they framed the area for the windows, so they kind of know what's going to go where. The other company doesn't. They have to do a lot of figuring out by the time they get there. I tend to go with my framers to install. I've had some window installers install windows, but not many. And it's a little more money always. I've done it with a specialty window on the job. And my framers had already come and gone, and I ordered the window. It was back ordered and it didn't come. And he couldn't get here, which I understand because it was my change order and I made the change, and he couldn't get here for another 3 weeks. So I had to pay the window installer, window manufacturer, the guy that I bought the window from, and he had to install it. And it cost us a little more, almost $1,100 to install that window. So it's a big, heavy window up high. So if you can time it right, get your windows there just in time for the framer, just when they finish, then it's advantageous to have them install it. Okay, good question. Michael Trunkale. Hey, Michael. Building a small office shed in San Diego, was planning a flat lean-to roof style without any attic. Would strata rib metal roofing be a good choice? Without ventilation, how do I prevent moisture? In San Diego, a lot of homes are moving to aluminum types of roofs because they don't degrade into salt water. And so if you look at a lot of homes, just be observant to look at a lot of the homes, especially metal that's put on homes. A lot of them have rusted to death. Even the galvanized metal will rust to death. Anything that's aluminum will not. And on a little lean-to roof, it wouldn't be hard at all to put even an aluminum shingle roof on there. Just go to permalock.com, just type in Permalock. You can measure your rake and your drip edge and your end metal, measure that, and you can contact them, and they can ship it directly to you. But that would be the best, and you wouldn't have to worry about ventilation too much because that metal roof is going to refract heat back out in the atmosphere. But a lean-to is not a bad. I would make sure that I'd get a steeper pitch though. I wouldn't do anything shallower than a 412 pitch because you can get some moisture there. And even if you did asphalt on there, you need to go with the steeper pitch. If you do it too shallow, the water can wick back underneath aluminum, under asphalt, under any kind of a shingle material. It can wick back in there and it can destroy your substrate, your sheeting material. So make sure that that pitch is at least a 412 or higher pitch, and you should be fine on that. But hope that answers your question. Good luck with that one. Philip Cook, do most windows installed in new homes no longer have screens? No, most windows still have screens, except in fires they burn. Yeah, go ahead.
So the reason why new homes, you go through new homes and they don't have screens on it because they want you to be able to see out the window. So most times when homes are being shown, they take the screens out and then they're not damaged. And then when you move in, they put the screens in.
Right. All right. In fact, a lot of times I've forgotten on some homes, and the window manufacturer sends the screens later, or they send them in a bundle and it's all wrapped up, and we store them in a nice place later on. And we finish the home, forget to put the screens on, and then summer comes and it's a nice cool night. You want to open the window, but you don't want the bugs in. Where's the screens at? So the screens are really there for bugs. It's really the number one reason they're there. And if you don't think you'll ever open up the window when the bug season's there, then fine, you don't need to put them on there. So, Sunshine. Hi, Keith. What kind of safety signs should be posted for the build? That's a really good question. My main safety is clean environments, because if you have to walk over other subcontractors' garbage, miscellaneous 2x4s, and screws that are on the floor because electricians dropped the screw. I have a sign on my jobs after framing, and it says, clean your site every day, every trade. Kelsch Construction. That's what I do. Clean your site every day, every trade. And a clean site is really one of the best safety environments you can have. And then all the other subcontractors, they are pretty informed, if they're in a sophisticated state, what they're supposed to do. Like if you're a roofer and you're on a roof that's over a 712 pitch, you got to tie yourself off. And then most roofers will tie themselves off anyway, and they'll be safe. Scaffolding, if they don't tie it to the actual structure of the home and they just let it go loose, you got some problems. And so you can walk on a site and kind of see, oh my, there's a safety issue right here. I've seen the biggest safety issues with scaffolding. And if you have uneven ground on the outside, let's say you have a walkout basement and it's 2 stories up. I really push to get my excavator to grade it out smooth, get it compacted, because I know scaffolding is going to come there, and 3 different subcontractors are going to use that scaffolding. The framer is going to use it to do the windows and sheeting. The siding material guy is going to come do it. And then, of course, framer is going to use it also for the windows, and possibly the painter and the soffit and fascia guys, rain gutter guys. They're going to use it. So I love level ground. Level ground is my biggest safety measure on a home. And I've seen a lot of builders not care about that. They'll do a mountain home and they won't care. There's rocks and boulders everywhere. And you'll see scaffolding just really rickety against the home. You want a really solid foundation for your outside of your. That's why after my foundation's poured, I hurry to get final grade done. I want it as clean and as graded as I possibly can, and it makes everyone walking around that home safer. So that's, to me, my biggest safety thing that I try to go for on a home. So.
Would you put a no trespassing sign?
No trespassing sign is very helpful. What that does is that if somebody gets hurt on a job site that doesn't belong there, and you posted a no trespassing sign, they are trespassing. But if there's no trespassing sign in a lot of jurisdictions, especially mine, because I didn't post it and it was kind of an inviting environment, they could actually sue me. So if you post a no trespassing sign, that's probably your best defense. And my wife is right. I'd probably do that over anything. I do a lot of builds that are so far out and about that there's not a lot of traffic to that. I have had to put some no trespassing signs on some jobs. But that to me would probably be the top one. And your attorney would thank you for it. Okay, good question. Michael, what should I put on top of the roof? Plywood, but under the metal strata rib roof.
The coating stuff?
Are you going to put some a sheeting material up there, or are you just affixing the ribbed roofing material onto a truss configuration? So if you don't have any sheeting on there, then what's going to happen is that metal roof is going to vibrate.
Yeah.
So what should I put on top of the roof? Plywood. We got the plywood, but under the metal strata, any kind of synthetic. Just don't put tar paper. Sorry, I didn't read that. Don't put tar paper. It's going to crinkle and become brittle over time. Any synthetic would be great. All right. And if you go to box stores, you can feel them. Some of them are really thin, and some of them are thicker. All right, and look at how long they last. Look at their warranty. And in your situation, you don't need to go buy a roll that's a 10 square roll. You only need to buy a roll that's like a three square roll. You're going to get way too much if you buy a 10 square roll. Buy something that's it's a thicker material. It's only going to cover 2 or 3 square, and you're going to be fine. You'll have more than enough for what you need. But if you buy a 10 square, you're going to spend $80-$95 for a roll, which you can only use a quarter of, not even a quarter of. So you're going to have all that waste. So good question. Okay. Josh, is there a house wrap you like best? No, I've liked the SA material, but it's so expensive on a home. On this home, you wouldn't believe it, but I got the cheapest double layer tar paper I could find. Why? Because I have that much thickness on top of it. Between mineral wool and my hardy material, like the batten board you see, I didn't need any really expensive paper back then because my rain screen is behind my batten board and it's not 2 inches into near the substrate is. So here's a situation where you put your money into the better product that's fire rated, that's mold proof and all that kind of stuff. And then you save on your paper material. And I just put double layer tar paper on, which is what stucco guys typically use. It's what they put on. And then I was able to save some money. It depends on what your fascia material is and what you're putting on. If you feel like water can get in there, you'd probably want a higher grade synthetic on the outside of the walls. And that would really help out quite a bit.
Brady made a comment. You want to see Brady's?
Yeah.
That's what Brady said.
As Brady said, Brady says, Josh James, the blue Tyvek is my go-to if I'm not using zip systems. White Tyvek doesn't hold up well to wind. Very true. White Tyvek is usually put on with staples, and I don't like to use staples. I like to use thumbtacks, roofing thumbtacks, and it's really going to be on there. And it's really your application that's key. If you just put it, a lot of like stucco guys will staple it on there, and they won't care because they're going to come and put their lath on there real quick after that. But to me, that white Tyvek's not the best. There's some better. If you really want to put some money into it, you can put that peel and stick product. I have some videos. If you look through my series, I've talked about some of those products that are out there. And I was going to do that for a homeowner, but I found the product was so costly that we said, hey, it'd be better just to put an exterior CI product, which is continuous insulation product on the outside of the home and save and not put so expensive stuff on the your paper. So again, I go with thicker, denser material and put my money there rather than a thinner material that is not nearly as productive as the higher grade material I put on the full outside of the home. Okay, good question. Michael, does insulation in the wall need to breathe, or does roof insulation need to breathe? Trying to get the most insulation in a wall and roof, thinking 2x8 walls, 2x10 roof for the office shed. 2x8 walls, you could actually be fine with the 2x6 wall there. Your weather is very mild in San Diego. In fact, if I was living where I'm at right now, I'd be living in San Diego, right, honey?
Yeah.
Yeah, she says yes. So your weather is very mild. Don't spend the extra money for a 2x8 wall. It's going to suck up an extra 1.5 inches and lose all that space. Just go with the 2x6 wall. And if you want, you can put in some SoundTech Rockwool product, which is a Rockwool product that helps with the sound, because you might have some sound issues there in San Diego if you're close to a freeway. But it's also mold proof and fireproof. So it's a really, really powerful product that you can just pack inside your wall cavity for getting close to an R20, whatever, for your walls. And you can also do that for the rafters if you want to. Make it nice and quiet in there for an office. Just go to any box store and you can get a mineral wool product that's a bat product that is a mineral wool product, and you can just pack it in there. And it would be very nice. Josh, if I've already put asphalt, ice, and water shield and synthetic on the lining, can I still install Permalock and shingles? Yes, you can. Yeah, I've done it many times. as long as you have less than 2 or less than 3 layers on your home. If you have 2 layers of asphalt, the 3rd layer can be aluminum or asphalt. Once you get over 3 layers by code, you have to rip off all of them and then put a whole new on. Why? Because most roofs are not rated for the extra weight. Asphalt can be about 300 to 425 pounds per 10 by 10 square.
Read it again. You just put the.
I'm almost done.
Sorry.
And so when you keep adding that weight, then you put on too much weight so that the structure can't support that weight. It's not rated for it. That's why they make you take everything off. Plus nails, if you don't use the right nails, you're not getting into the substrate. So yeah, I've done that many times. I put aluminum shingle over the top, and I don't put any paper underneath it. I just put it right on top of that asphalt. If the asphalt's in good shape. If it's flaking all over the place, then I scrape it off as best I can. Then I put a good synthetic on it, and then I put the aluminum shingle on top of that. And that aluminum shingle will be up there for 100 years. So
Just reread it. You just put asphalt, ice and water shield. I don't think you put asphalt on it.
synthetic on it. I still stuff from like shingles. I do. I mean, synthetic on it. You can do the ice and water shield in your area. You have to do ice and water shield at least for the first 4 feet up because you have a snow environment, and then after that you can go straight synthetic. However, if you want to be really, really protected, you can just do ice and water shield over the whole thing. In my altitude, I do all ice and water shield over the entire roof. So.
This is right.
All right. I am planning a trifold air purification system, HEPA filter, carbon filter, UV light. Your thoughts? Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I love the HEPA filters. I've never seen a HEPA filter and a carbon filter combo, but that's pretty powerful. I don't know if you know how powerful carbon is. When you overdose or take drugs or do something bad and you go to the ER, do you know what they ingest inside your system? It's carbon. It's charcoal. And why charcoal? Because it's an absorption, has an absorptive quality, absorbing quality. Hope I said that right. It absorbs toxins in the air. In my house here, I have some filters. Go grab the filter, honey, by the steps right there. And my HVAC contractor felt bad about my smoke smell in the house. And so he went and ordered some filters for me. And they're basically carbon filters. And so carbon, anytime a toxin or pollutant is hit, this is a carbon filter, all right? And this actually will do a lot more to take out the toxins and also the odors in the home. So the carbon is going to be the most powerful for you. The UV light is going to help with mold, mildew, and anything that grows, that has moisture that grows. It will kill that. Spores, fungi, you name it. That's what the UV light's going to do. The carbon filter is going to take out the odors and the smell. And the HEPA filter is just a super first defense against larger particulates and stuff like that. But that 3 combo, I know that's actually very powerful for water filtration too. I have koi that I use basically the same system that you're talking about. It's very, very powerful. And I have UV light on, the same thing. The UV light's really, really good if you have a high humid environment and you've got the potential for spores and stuff and bad germs and stuff like that. That's where the UV light's going to be very, very helpful. So great plan. Michael, what's a good hourly rate to be paying framers? San Diego. I wouldn't pay framers hourly rate.
Job.
I tell them to bid the job. And like if let's say your shed is, I'll give you some numbers. Let's say your shed is maybe 10 by 12. Let's just go 12 by 12. And that's 144 square feet. Let's say times, say $20. That's $2,880 to frame that house or that shed, which they can do in a day, day and a half. Probably in a day. I don't know how big it is. But that's quite a bit of money. Now, if they want to pay hourly, if they say, okay, I'll pay you $35 an hour or $50 an hour. How many hours does it take? And they'll tell you, let's say it's 15 hours times $55 an hour. That's $825. If anyone is offering labor as an hour, will you get the mail now? He's coming. If anyone's offering their labor hourly, they're not very smart, and they're easy to take advantage. And if you want to take advantage of people, fine. But if that's as far as they think hourly, then it's not a very good business person. And I'd rather do business with a smart business person than a person who's not very smart. But they could be just starting, and you might want to just help them out. Yeah, I'm just helping. I'm just starting out. I can do that for hourly. Great, it's fine. But I have found that people that work strictly for an hourly rate, they lack in their quality, and they really don't get it done in a timely fashion. See, quality, time, cost. So if you go with that cheap cost, you're just ignoring the first two principles I always talk about: quality and time. So a good businessman is always very efficient with their time. And if they're efficient with their time, their quality is going to be better, and you're going to be happier. So you're running a little bit of a risk there if you go straight hourly. I don't know anyone who does anything hourly. And if they did it, they quickly got away from that really quick. Okay. Good question. Michael, roof for the office shed. So aluminum roofing is better than galvanized steel. Yes. Especially with if you're really close to the ocean, you've got some salinity in the air, some salt salinity, that's going to corrode that galvanized faster than you can shake a stick at, really fast. And I don't care how much galvanization they put on that. It's just it can't withstand what the ocean puts at it. The aluminum will withstand that forever. It's not going to degrade. So, Colosso. Where would you recommend to get subcontractors for MEPs? Mechanical, electrical, plumbing. I don't use MEP engineers. I stay away from them. They're very costly. You don't need them. Most architects will actually include the electrical plan anyway, and then HVAC plans are ad hoc. They're done at the job site during the course of construction, and and that's where my consulting comes in. If you do a 1 hour consulting with me, I can talk about the return area. I can talk about where you might have to drop a ceiling. Can we deal with that now? Can we solve for that at the design phase? And if you're smart with that, you give your plans to an HVAC contractor. They can say, hey, if we do this here, and change a couple things, we can fix this, and they'll solve for that. So when I come in there and do the HVAC, we got it all rocking and rolling and ready to go. And so that's where you take that cost of an MEP and just work it in-house. You don't need an MEP engineer. And if the city is asking for one, they're nuts. And I've not seen the city request one other than if you're doing a commercial job like a fourplex. Then they may ask for an MEP engineer on the plans and stamp them and all that. But stay away from them as much as you possibly can. I had a student when I first started how to build your own home. She was about ready to do a fourplex in San Diego, and she hired an MEP engineer and paid like $16,000 for him. She never ended up doing the work, at least I don't know about, but she felt bad because she spent that money before she met me. And so MEP engineers are good, but they're not that great for residential. They're really structured for commercial, so I stay away from them when it comes to a home, unless you're building a home in Hollywood that's 21,000 square feet with 19 bedrooms, of course, then it's different. But we're not building homes like that. So stay away from them. Rennie, I'm sure you probably have said it before, but when building a duplex, top and bottom units, what's the best way to make more soundproof between the floors? My best approach has been to use what's called Sound Tech. You can get that at a lot of box stores, and I stuff that up in the rafters near the subfloor. Then I have a little bit of an air gap, and then I do net and blow below that, which means my net and blow guys who do my walls, they'll net the ceiling and they'll blow some insulation in there. But I have a dead air space between the floor, but I have two insulators on the top and the bottom. That's my best approach. The other approach is that you have to have a drop down ceiling that's completely detached from basically the floor above, which is kind of hard to do. And then you have no sound conductivity from frame structure to that ceiling down below. And if you can stop that, you can. There's a lot of different technologies out there, but just as a simple word of wisdom that I can give, I try to have an air gap between two insulators inside the floor structure. So if your floor structure is 18 inches or so, I've got some sound tech packed up in there, dead air space, and some blow-in insulation down below. And that kind of helps what I've done. So good question. Michael, does the insulation on the wall or roof need to breathe or need air gap? Or can I cram as much rock wall I can to fit into the wall? You don't need any air gap in a wall. And the only air gap you're going to have on the roof is on top of the insulation, not below it. So if you have,
this is the shed guy.
Yeah. So if you have a ceiling here and your rafters are coming up like this, you're going to have insulation packed down here, but you'll have an air gap above that. And now in California, you can't have any ventilated eaves. In most jurisdictions in California, it's illegal to have a ventilated eave because of fires. So if you have that air gap there and then it gets bigger, the air gap gets bigger, you can put a vent at the top of the roof, a pitched vent, but it has to be ASC certified so that it can't allow fire embers to get in. So make sure you work with your code enforcement officers or your permitting office to ask what you can do. Yeah, pack the walls and usually between 18 and 24 inches of fluffy stuff on top and you're fine.
Okay, back to this one. Let's just get going. Okay.
Do I have to change the drip edge for Permalock or it works with all tapes? No, it's a different drip edge. It's a drip edge that hooks into it. So the shingle, you put a new drip edge on and the shingle grabs inside that drip edge and it's locked. So it's a completely different drip edge. Same with the rake flashing and your end wall flashing. They all have hooks to lock that shingle in. Okay, next question. By the way, if you're actually thinking about doing aluminum shingle, it might be good to get that drip edge on and the rake on now and put your asphalt on, but that way your rake and drip are all on there, and then you can just put the aluminum shingle on later and lock it all in. Something to think about. Okay. Teddy, can you talk about the next process after excavation and monolithic pour? Should sidewalk get poured together? No. Do your sidewalk when you do your finished grading and your landscaping. Why? Because some yahoo in a truck is going to drive over that sidewalk and pop it. You don't want that to happen. Wait till all the heavy equipment is done. I know it's tempting to try to get as much concrete done as you can, but just hold off on that. So after you get your foundation done, get your backfill, get your grading done, make sure you get me. I like to get all my utilities done, plumbing, electrical, etc. I like to get it all connected. That way, the mess that I'm going to make on all the ground is done. That way, when trucks come, guess what they're doing? They're packing it down. They're helping you get solidity inside your soil structure. You got your final grade, all that. The worst thing you can do that I found is to get your foundation done and have framers start to come before all your utilities are done and framing's done, and you dig up all that ground, and it's hard for people to get access to. Look at a video I did a couple of weeks ago on how I installed all my utilities first. And it's a really good video. It's a couple of weeks ago. Watch that video. It's going to be very, very informative, especially in tight spaces. So look at that video and it will help you decide what you want to do next after your foundation. Okay. Let's see. Would you use sound tech in attic of 1 story under flight? You could, but you need some higher R value. I think you need close to R30 in an attic. So if you can get the sound tech there, and then you can put some other insulation on top of that, giving a total of between 18 and 24 inches of insulation on top of your ceiling inside your attic. So you could put some sound tech there, which is a thicker, denser material, and then maybe just some blow-in fluffy stuff, or even some other rock wool, bat, whatever else you want to put up in there. But yeah, that's a possibility. If for some reason you are living under an airport.
Yeah, that's what she's saying.
Yeah.
Recording sounds of aircraft.
Yeah, that would be a really good thing for you to do, and it would help with that quite a bit. And when you do put your sheeting on, it wouldn't hurt to just go a little bit thicker on your sheeting. Don't go as thin as they possibly can. Just a little bit thicker might help you out just a little bit. And even on the synthetic, you can get some synthetic that's really dense that actually will help absorb some of that sound. You just don't need any. You don't need to feel the rumble. You can deaden that if you're smart. Okay. Good question. How many more questions do we have?
That's it.
Oh, that's it. Okay. We are done. We finished just at 6 o'clock, right on the nose, Mountain Standard Time. Again, like, subscribe. And if you haven't taken the First Steps course, How to Build Your Own Home, do that. It's very affordable. And at the end of that First Steps course, there's a coupon code for the self-managed package. And the self-managed course has everything, 45 plus different checklists, subcontractor agreements, draw sheets. The budget is stellar. It's so organized, very efficient. And when you take that budget to a bank, they love it. It's just so clean. And then video instruction throughout the entire process. A lot of courses on building science. Also, one other thing, I have something for free on my website. If you go there, it's a red button near the middle, and it's some code that I put together on how to build a home that can withstand fires. So if you're in that particular area, make sure you get that. That's not in the coursework yet. I will move it out of the freeze thing on the website later on this summer because there's fires and people are worried. It's for free right now. Make sure you download that, as well as the home site selection checklist. Those are free at the website, howtobuildyourownhome.com. But again, the First Steps course, phenomenal. And then it helps you identify cost per square foot. There's no other course out there that's going to help you identify what the real cost per square foot is. And then, of course, the self-managed course, the most detailed and easy to use course that's out there to help you become a builder without a general contractor. So it's all there. We'll be here again next Thursday. Hopefully my daughter will join us every Thursday from 5 to 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Hopefully no more smoke in my mountains at that time. But we'll see you guys then. Take care. Bye.